Hey everyone. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. The weather's just been either raining or 100 degrees, so I haven't had much motivation. I was in my shop yesterday just trying to clean up my garage a little bit. I swept it, but haven't actually cleaned it up yet. I got a big pile of sawdust there. And I found all these furring strip cutoffs from an old project. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with them yet. I'm going to run them through the table saw first just to get the roundovers off them and see what I'm really working with. But I just have so many of them, and some of them aren't going to be completely usable. If you just see the cutout on that, or the tear out I should say, and the big knot hole there. But I think I can do something cool with them. Furring strips aren't very good wood. They're not entirely straight or anything like that. But I have so much of it, I think I can make a small project just to keep inside. I'm gonna get the table saw set up. It's just folded up in the corner over there. Cut those roundovers off and see what I can come up with. I've got a straight edge on all of these now. I'm gonna glue these three together and these three together. They are a little bit warped, as you can see, but I think when I clamp them up, I can get a straight glue on them, and if it need be, I can always run them through the planer after. It's in clamps, glued. We'll just let that dry and come back tomorrow. Okay, so I pulled them out of clamps and I cleaned them up with sandpaper a little bit on the sander. I was trying to avoid this, but I am gonna have to run it through the planer. See how they just lined up. There's some gaps and things. So the only reason I didn't want to do this is because this planer is crap. But I put my melamine guide through it, so I'm gonna fire this up and see what it can do. So these are both run through the planer. This one does need new blades, as you can see. But here's why I don't like it. So I push these through on each other to get it a little smoother than it normally would be. But look at the snipe line here and the snipe line here. And the reason I push them through back to back is so I really only have to make one cut on each one. I've tried so much to get the snipe out of this thing. There is just no getting it completely out. Everybody online has the same complaint with it. The reason for that is right there. There's only 2 adjustment screws, so the head tilts. Okay, this is a coffee can. I am just going to use that for my radius. So let's get this thing nice and flush. Doesn't get much better than that. And let's check the front. That's good too. Go. And we're going to do that on all 4 corners. It's going to look something like that. Okay, got all of our lines marked out, and now it's time to use my least favorite tool, the jigsaw. I am very bad with this, so this is kind of going to be more of a rough cut than a perfect one, but it'll give me the general shape. I can do the rest with the sander, not a huge deal. Okay, so like I said, I'm very bad with this and definitely went off my lines a bit. Not a huge deal, but I can probably touch that up. Now I got to do the other 3 corners, and that'll be that. Okay, so I cut it in half. As you can see, my jigsaw skills are pretty terrible, but what I'm going to do is use some double-sided tape to squeeze these together, and I'll just sand them together until they're a smooth surface all the way around. All right, so those are taped up. I just got them sanded. That took a lot longer than I thought. I kind of cheated. I ended up just taking my belt sander and clamping it to the table upside down so I could just run this over it. Got it about right, good enough anyways. Now I gotta make some more cuts. And I'll probably just leave it together to do that. So back over to the miter saw. All right, cuts are made. So everything's going quite smooth. If you haven't guessed, I'm making a box. It will have a lid on it. That's what these are. It'll be a kind of a rounded lid. It'll look kind of like a treasure chest, actually. Okay, so just a rough mock-up. Obviously, I'm going to cut these into much smaller strips so they all fit better. All right, so I've got it all cut to strips and assembled roughly. I haven't sanded anything or glued it yet. I did end up cutting an angle on some of these, as you can see. Time to assemble the bottom of it. First thing I'm going to do is put the sides on, and then I'll get these pieces that'll kind of lock everything in place. So here we go. You definitely don't want to do what I just did and get glue over here, because you got to clean that up or sand it off, and it is a bear. It's like a glove. I'm going to put some clamps on that and let that sit for a bit before I come back and do anything else with it. This is just snug. I don't want to over tighten. That should hold pretty well. I'm going to give that probably a half hour before I add any more on there, and then we'll come back to it. We'll let that dry, and while it's drying, I can work on sanding the top pieces, which is going to take forever. Okay, it's the next day. I quickly just hit this with a little block plane, which definitely needs to be sharpened. I got a lot of tear out, but it took the high edges off it, so I should be able to just smooth this out with a sander now. So I'll go ahead and get that ready. I'll set up a tripod so I can do some sanding on this. And of course I still have to sand this box piece over here too. All right, that's after 80 grit. Took all the high spots out of it. Still quite rough because it is pine, so next I'm going to go with 120. I'll sand it to 120. I just realized I am out of 220 paper, so I have to jump, well, it's 240. Whole thing sanded. I figured I'd save you guys the time of watching me do that. I kind of decided what I was going to do for a finish on it already, and that is that. I'm just going to run some fire over it real quick to darken it, and then I'll put tung oil on it. I think that will look pretty good. So we'll see how that goes. Not bad. I'm going to go ahead and just do the rest of it. I'm going to wipe this down and get it just a touch darker in a few areas. Okay, latches and hinges are all on. Well, the one latch and the hinges. Opens and closes nice. Not bad. Locks it into place. It's stable. So yeah, now I just gotta put some finish on it. I may run a line of tacks down it too. I haven't really decided yet. I have them, so I can do it, but we'll see. I might put some finish on first. All right, pounded all my tacks in. Just furniture tacks, picked them up at Lowe's. These are supposedly bronze colored, but they don't really look it. Hinges are on, clasp is on. It's ready to really just be cleaned again and some tung oil put on it. All right, we're on to finish. Just gonna use some tung oil on this one. It is going inside. I do have pets. Oof, that lid's on there. It's been a while since I've used this. Gotta get a little more than that. Let's just see how it looks. Ooh, she's got some solids in her. That's no good. I'm gonna wipe out the end of this can here. The lid of my can has some solids built up on it, so I'm just gonna wipe those out before I dig further into this. Let's try that one more time. Okay, first coat of oil is completely on. This burnt pine is really soaking it in, so I'm gonna have to come back in probably an hour and put another one on. But it does make it look quite nice.